Are you tired of the marketing guessing game? Does your website feel more like a digital billboard than a client magnet? If you're nodding along, you're not alone. And it's time to stop the uncertainty and start getting real results. Let's talk about your marketing spend. Are you just shelling out money every month and crossing your fingers? Do you ever wonder what impact your marketing is really having on your revenue? Well, it's time to take the guesswork out of the equation with Rise Up Media. We've been working with them for over a year, and the feedback from our fellow members has been fantastic. Rise Up Media is here to take your marketing to the next level. They'll even perform a full audit of your online presence, giving you the good, the bad, and even let you in on what your competition is up to that you're missing out on. And the best part, there's no obligation, no catch, no pressure. If you decide to work with them, their contracts are month to month. That's right. No long-term commitments tying you down. So what are you waiting for? To learn more about how Rise Up Media can transform your firms, visit riseupmedia.com/maxlaw, and Rise is spelled with a Z. riseupmedia.com/maxlaw.
This is Maximum Lawyer with your host, Tyson Mutrix.
This week's episode is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on some things. This is why this is going to be a Tuesday episode. It's also one of the very first solo episodes that I've done on the Tuesday show. And so bear with me because this is going to take a little bit of getting used to for this episode because I don't have a guest and it's going to be a longer episode. Bear with me. I've got a lot to cover. This is going to be a really good one though, because I'm going to be going through the recent AI trends report that was released by Mary Meeker. If you don't know who Mary Meeker is, she is known as the queen of the internet, as what she has been dubbed. And that's because she was highly involved. She released the internet trends report back in the 90s, early on, whenever internet was, it was something that, people were using for email, but they really had no idea what the internet was going to become. And she had a pretty good report that she released back then that was pretty accurate. And that's why I want to go through this report, because this one it's going to be kind of a doozy. It's not just going to be some sort of tech update. It's going to be more of probably a warning shot, just to kind of get your stomach right, because it's very revealing. What they just kind of give you a gist in the report. By the way, Mary Meeker is not the only one that created this report. She has a team that built this out. So I do want to make sure that we don't say she's the only one that created this. There was a team of people that created it, but she and her team, Mary Meeker and her team, they argue that AI isn't just a tool. It's actually an infrastructure. And that's the key part of this. It's an infrastructure. You got to remember that part of it. And so what this means for the legal industry, and really every other industry in the world, is that everything is about to be rebuilt from the ground up. My favorite quote that I've heard about this and from her, and we'll unpack a lot of this in a little bit, but it's that AI is the new electricity. And that is, if you think about it from that perspective, AI is the new electricity. And what it was like whenever electricity started to become mainstream, you can kind of get the idea as to how big this is becoming. And so kind of buckle up. We're going to unpack a lot of this going forward. And there's a lot to go through. Just, for those of you watching, I'm not going to be looking at the camera the whole time. I am going to be referencing the report and some segments I've pulled from the report. I'll try to also share some of the charts that are in the report. I'll make sure that the report is available at everyone I'll make sure it's in the show notes. So if you want access to it, you can get access to that in the show notes. Let's start by talking about how the adoption curve, and what's really interesting is the adoption curve is exploding much faster than I think maybe any technology in history. So here's one of the quotes from just the third page. AI usage trending is ramping material faster and the machines can outpace us. So if we look at some of the hard numbers, so ChatGPT now has over 800 million weekly active users, which is just a staggering number. It reached 100 million users in just 2 months. And that's years ago now. That's faster than any product in history. It now has over 1 billion daily inquiries. That's hitting 365 billion annual searches in 2 years. That's 5.5 times faster than Google did in its early days. So if you can kind of compare it to how Google did and how fast they grew, this is 5.5 times faster than that. And it's not just some sort of, I think some people may have thought this was sort of, just sort of a hype or just some sort of trend or fad that was going to fade out. No, this has really deep, not just deep, but global saturation. And so it's not just something you have to remember, like this isn't just being used by us and our law firms. Clients are going to be looking at it. Judges are going to be using it. Regulators, people that are creating our laws, legislators, all that. And this is something that's accelerating. It's going to really have really deep effects on all of us. And here's the quote from the report that was talking about electricity. AI is not a product trend. It is an infrastructure reset comparable to the invention of electricity. So reset comparable to the invention of electricity. Sort of whenever I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's sort of mind blowing. So the CEO of NVIDIA, who I actually think is just a genius, just absolute brilliant genius, great communicator. He says, these AI data centers are in fact AI factories. You apply energy to them and they produce something incredibly valuable. And if you think about that, these aren't just big computers that are computing. They are this new infrastructure layer that really the legal world will sit right on top of it. So if you kind of think about it from that perspective, where you've got these different layers, these different warehouses, different infrastructures, or I guess one major infrastructure, but the legal world is just one layer. There's so many different layers that are involved in this. And what is so kind of crazy to think about is that our firms we're not just going to be using AI. We're going to be really running on it, just like electricity. So we are going to be so plugged into this in the coming years that it is going to be just as if you're paying for your electricity or your internet or anything else, or your water, any of your utilities. It's going to be much like a utility, the way we think of utilities these days. Here's the next part of the report. Inference costs are dropping fast, they said. So, and here's why this matters. The cost of using AI is falling off a cliff, according to them, even while capability rises. So the cost to serve 1 million tokens, and tokens is a lot of how a lot of these different AIs are running. And you get so many tokens for so many dollars. I'm not even going to go into tokens because I think it's more complicated than it needs to be. But the cost to serve 1 million tokens dropped 99.7% between 2022 and 2024. That is massive. That means that the barrier to entry is so much lower. Really is, when it comes to a cost perspective. Energy required to generate one token dropped by 105,000 times in the past, so 105,000x in the past decade, thanks to NVIDIA's hardware improvements. And that's something I learned from this report I was not aware of. OpenAI, we think of OpenAI as sort of this overnight success, but in reality, they've been around for about a decade. I think they've been around for about 9 years. This has been going on longer than we thought, at least longer than I thought. I didn't know that these companies were this entrenched in this and this working on this for that long. I thought it was sort of a recent development, but not so much. What used to cost dollars can now cost pennies, and what cost pennies may soon cost fractions of a cent. Pretty interesting thing. So I think what's really awesome about this is that a lot of the small law firms are now going to be able to compete using really elite AI tools with the big firms. The firms that really need to worry, in my opinion, are the bigger firms, the Morgan & Morgans of the world, the big defense firms, all of those massive firms that are spending, gobs and gobs of money on their They're massive infrastructures. They've got these just massive teams for marketing and you name it. These smaller firms are going to be able to compete at a pretty low cost, and I think that's pretty awesome. There is a caution to this too. The window, according to them, the window will not last forever. As the demand goes up, so is the competition. And if you're not building on it now, you're going to end up buying later, they say, and at a premium. So now is the window. We are at a very unique time where the costs are low. Competition is fairly low. There is competition. It is increasing, but as time goes by and the competition increases, if you don't build now on top of things, you're going to end up paying for it, paying a premium for it. Kind of like land in a way, where although it's not going to be a limited resource kind of like land, it's going to be, there are going to be so many servers as time goes by. There's only going to be so much access to the data, these data farms that you need. If you just look at Grok over the last, I think it was I guess about a month ago, where one of their servers caught fire and they had a massive downtime. I guess it wouldn't. I don't know if it was Grok. It was X. X is. I think it was. I don't think Grok was affected, but X was affected, where they were down for several hours because their servers couldn't handle it because they lost part of them because of a fire. Things like that, where our access to certain things are going to be limited as the competition increases. The rise of the AI giants is the next part of this, where a new class of AI is now emerging. It's less assistant, more service provider. And that's on page 89. According to them, we're entering the AI agent era. Think less chatbot, more executive assistant that can schedule meetings, draft motions, file documents, cross-check statutes for you, generate deposition summaries, interface with your CRM. You've already got the major companies they're rolling out. So OpenAI has as operator. They also have assistants. If you pay for the pro version, I think it's called Assistants is what it's called. But they also have an OpenAI operator, which is an agent. I actually used it to book my flights to Hawaii not too long ago. It was pretty cool. Salesforce, Agentforce, they've got that. Amazon has Nova, Anthropic, Claude. It's 3.5 computer use. I'm not as familiar with that. I've never actually used that, so I don't know exactly what that is. But what's interesting about this, and some of you already know this, but I think many of you don't. These agents, they're not just answering questions, they actually act on your behalf. So when I say that I use that agent to actually book my flight, I actually use it to book my flight. I gave it my login, it went in and it booked my flights for me, which is pretty phenomenal. So you give them goals and they do the work. That's how it works. The thing I don't like as much about Operator with OpenAI is that it's kind of like a one-off thing where something comes up, I ask it to do it, it does it. It doesn't always do it though. That's the other thing too, is it doesn't, but you can run multiple windows at the same time for Operator, which is kind of cool. But I do think its use is somewhat limited when it comes to like just one-off tasks. It's not like it can take an email as it comes in and then do something with it on its own. It's not that advanced. We're building out other things for that. But when it comes to OpenAI, it doesn't quite do that. But I mean, just think about it though. Imagine you ask your law firm agent, follow up on all open demand letters, and then it does it, and without even touching a keyboard, nothing else. It does all of that for you. Let's say it does all your leadership reports, right? It goes through it, cross-checks everything, makes sure everything's accurate. Really, there's some really great things that are going to be coming. It's going to save us a lot of time, and it's going to be more accurate. I don't think right now it's going to be. It's super accurate. I think that there are definitely some flaws, but going in the future as things get better and better, removing the human error from it, it's going to be pretty key. I know that some of this may seem far-fetched right now, but it's really not. It's already being used very widely in large corporations. I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but I have a friend that's in jiu-jitsu. I'm in jiu-jitsu with, and he was telling me how Walmart's using it. He works in a warehouse where he's got the AI in his ear as he's doing his work. And let's say he's going to pick up some, he works in basically a massive freezer. It's like negative 15 or 20 degrees in the freezer. It's pretty wild. But let's say he's going to pick up some ice cream, and he's picking up 6 cases of ice cream. So he kind of counts them out one through 6. And then there's only one left. It will kind of say in his ear, it'll give him feedback on that, or he'll talk to the AI in his, via the microphone, say, hey, we only have one left. It'll update the system. It's very, very vast. It tracks their time, how much time they spend on the floor. There's so many things that they're doing with it to increase their efficiency. And that's just how they're currently using it. That's just one company. You got to know all of the major companies are using it. So there's going to be at some point, if you're not in, there's going to be the haves and the have-nots. And I at this point, I really don't want to be one of the have-nots. I want to be one of the haves, because it's going to be a massive differentiator if you're not involved in it. All right. So let's talk about sort of what law firm owners need to do next. And this is not necessarily in the report, right? But I do think it's important to figure out what it is as law firm owners. What do we need to do? Because it really comes down to economics. If you look at the capital expenditures, they're spending by the big 6 tech companies, it's up 63% year over year. And that's over $212 billion is now being poured into AI infrastructure trends among the big 6 tech companies. So at the same time, AI performance has surpassed human levels on legal and professional reasoning benchmarks, which I don't know if you realize that, but that's something that is a fairly recent development. There was, for the first time, I can't remember which model it was, they were able to beat, I don't know if beat's the right term, but they were able to take the Turing test and win. I don't know if that's the way of putting it, but that's essentially what happened. So some of the things you can do now as a law firm owner, you need to audit your processes, find all the repetitive, boring work that your employees don't really like doing, and find a way for your AI to do it. This is very similar to sort of an exercise that I talked about a long time ago, where you take all of your entire case process from start to finish. And if you have if you have multiple niches, you're going to have to do this for each one of the niches, but from start to finish, document the whole thing, write it out. You can handwrite it if you want to, which if you could actually handwrite it and then upload it to OpenAI or any of the other LLMs, and I think it could probably read your handwriting. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm pretty sure you can. You can document it like that, and then find all the repetitive, boring tasks that your employees don't like to do. You probably know what those are. You can ask them, and then find AI to do those. And that is think about the task that sucks the life out of your employees. Make their lives better by finding those tasks. I think it's a really easy way of doing it. The next part of this is assign agents to them. So even the most basic ones, so intake forms, FAQ bots, CRM follow-ups, have someone create a bot to, this is a more advanced one, review all your case files, audit your case files, and see if everything's on track. See if there's anything that's stalled on any of your cases. So really go through, and you're going to want to create human involvement, like some sort of stopping points where it triggers some sort of human involvement. So don't just completely rely on agents. When I was at Disrupt, that's Hona's conference, I was talking about how you could right now create a completely AI and automated law firm. It'd be a very mediocre law firm though, because you do want to have that human involvement. But AI, if you add in the human angle with the customer service angle, that have that human connection, and then adding the AI to it, I mean, you can create a superpower of a law firm that we've never seen up to this point. So, and then the third part of this is after you've audited your processes, you've assigned your agents, and then really invest in training, and not just for tech, but you want it not just for your employees, but for your leadership teams as well. From top to bottom, your people need to know how to work with AI. And I said with AI, not use AI, but actually work with AI, because that's how it's going to be. You're going to be managing agents in the future. You're not going to be just managing people. You're managing AI agents and people at the same time. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just how things are going to be. So keep that in mind. I don't think I'm not one of the people that thinks AI is going to replace lawyers, But lawyers who use AI, they're going to replace lawyers who don't. It's just what's going to be. There might be a very, very small niche place for people that don't use AI, but it's going to be few and far between. It really is. So that's some of the few parts that I want to make sure I definitely covered when it comes to this episode. Now let's kind of dig into a little bit more of the report and some of the things that it covers, because I want to show you some of these charts. It's quite interesting. So, and for those of you that are just listening, you can see these on YouTube. I'll also share it in the show notes, but I'll also talk enough about these that you won't need to watch if you're just listening. But so the first chart, and each page there's actually 4 different charts on each page. So I'm going to try to make this as easy to see as possible, because it is kind of hard to see. All right. So the first one is and that's a question. Seem like change happening faster than ever? Question mark. Yes, it is. And you can see this chart. So starting in 2005 all the way up to 2025. And these are developers and leading chip makers ecosystem. There are, if you go back, so there's really hardly any up until, I'm guessing based on this, probably about 2015. And then it explodes from around that time frame up to 6 million developers in 2025. And there's the details. It does give you the details. It says the details are on page 38. And then the second chart that I want to cover is AI user plus usage plus capital expenditures growth. And it says equals unprecedented. And it's a similar chart where it goes back to October of 2022, which is, if you'll remember, that's around the time that OpenAI was announced. And it became a really big thing. But this is the leading US-based LLM users. And this goes from, so it's up to 800 million this year, or I think it's 800 million a month. I think is what it is. But you go back, it was about half of that about a year ago but yeah, I'd say, so between this, I don't know, it was about half of that 6 months ago. In 2023, it appears ish. It doesn't give me, it's not completely broken down by years. So I'm having to guess here a little bit, but you've got, I'd say it was probably 100 million. So we're already at 800 million. It's, extremely, just massive growth. And then you got the next chart. It's AI user plus usage plus capital expenditures growth. And this is internet versus leading US-based LLM. So total current users outside North America. All right. So 33 years in, and this is, so we got share of total percentage of current users. So year 3, 90%. At year 23. So internet. Okay. So this is going by internet over 33 years versus internet, versus LLM over, the next 33 years. So in just 3 years, okay, the total current users outside of North America is 90%. It took 23 years of the internet to get to 90% of users outside the US. So that is significantly different. So the adoption much faster than when it comes to internet. And then this is the big 6. So USA technology company capital expenditure, and this is where how much money is being spent each year on AI. And we've got this year $212 billion, which is it's up 63% from last year. Pretty massive. All right, and then this is the cost of key technologies relative to the launch year. So you've got electric power. You've got they're comparing electric power, computer memory, and then AI inference. So it has it where it took 72 years for electricity to get down to the cost of where AI is now. And it took, let's see, I'm looking at, so computer memory, let's say about 30 years, 20 years, 30 years roughly. And according to this chart, I don't know, maybe 2 years So for the cost equivalent. So it took a lot longer for electricity costs to go down as much as it has for AI. The next one is so leading USA based AI LLM revenue versus compute expense. And you've got the revenue has gone up steadily and the expenses have dramatically decreased is what as I think is the way I'm reading this. So revenue is blue, compute expense red. So this looks like the compute expense has gone way down and the revenue has gone way up. So that's the difference is about $8.7 billion, which is pretty good for them. Good for them. Then we got the AI monetization threats. So it equals rising competition plus open source momentum plus China's rise. So this chart is leading U.S. LLMs versus China LLMs desktop user share. All right, so LLM number one, we've got so February of 24, the U.S. is leading. I'm trying to actually understand what this chart even means. The U.S. is this is by year. So you got February 24, February 25, and then April of 25. You can see quite a bit of an increase in China's usage. In February of 24, they weren't using it at all. And then USA LLM number two, they've got their share. So their share has gone up. And then, so OpenAI is really appears to be under threat, is the way I'm reading this. And then you've got China versus USA versus the rest of the world, industrial robots installed. And it's interesting. So from 2014 to 2023, you have pretty stagnant for the US. It's kind of stayed the same. And then you have for the rest of the world and China has definitely had the greatest adoption, it appears. And so has the rest of the world. So those are excluding China and the United States, far outpacing the United States. That's a bit scary for reasons outside of the legal space. And then the last one I want to get to, a couple things, is AI or a ride share versus autonomous taxi provider. And this is where you've got the green versus blue. The green is ride share, and then the autonomous taxi is what it's against. And so the blue is autonomous taxi. It's up to 27%, and what you see is an increase in the autonomous taxi usage and a massive decrease in the rideshare usage. Pretty interesting. So it looks like market share, the autonomous taxi now of the San Francisco market has 27% market share. The rideshare is down to 19%. That's a massive decrease. Now the last thing I want to get to is this AI and work evolution. And so this is real plus rapid. And this is the US IT jobs, AI versus non-AI. AI IT jobs is up 448%. So this is since January of 2018. The non-AI IT jobs is down 9%. And you saw a peak of about, I'd say probably around 2021-ish, and then a steady decline for both of them, really, and then a massive increase for AI IT jobs, and then a steady decline for non-AI IT jobs. So that is an interesting study for sure. But so those are the charts I wanted to cover out of this report. It's a really, like I said, I'll make sure it's available to everybody. We'll put it in the show notes, so if you want to look at it, you can. But the reason why I wanted to go through this is because I wanted to really try to find a way to get you to understand how important it is that we adopt the AI now. It's really, really important. It's coming fast. It is getting faster. If you think of it kind of like a snowball, it's snowballing and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there will be a point where if you're not on board, you're going to get left behind. And I don't want that to happen. And so, adopt away, and let me know. Let me know how you're doing with it. I'd love to hear some of the things that you're doing in your firms. Shoot me a text. I'd love to hear from you. 314-501-9260. Or you can always just, send me a message. There is maximumlawyer.com/ask. You can always submit comments or questions there, or if you want to come on the show and talk about some of the AI that you're doing in your firm, I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure that listeners would love to hear some of the things that you're doing, because I think if we all think of this as a rising tide raises all boats, that's kind of the view I've always had when it comes to practicing law and running a law firm. And so all of us getting, instead of us all getting bulldozed by AI, I think all of us working together to make sure that we can use it to the best of our abilities. That way we can all kind of work together and all rise together. That would be great. But that's all we have for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good one. See ya. Have you been hurt by sloppy bookkeeping? Tired of chasing down payments from clients? Is managing your billing turning into a full-time job? Our trusted partners at Collect are ready to simplify your invoicing, accounting, client management, and collections, all at an affordable flat rate with no surprise hourly charges. Don't let financial headaches hold you back. Contact Collect, that's Collect with a K, at collect.legal, or call them at 312-825-7013. Collect.legal, because you shouldn't have to suffer in silence.
If you've been feeling like your firm is doing fine, but you know there's more potential you haven't tapped into yet, this is for you. MaxLawCon 2025 is 2 powerful days designed to help you break through that plateau. We've curated a lineup of smart, generous law firm owners who are actually in it, sharing exactly what's working inside their firms. No fluff, no gatekeeping, just real strategies you can take back to the office and implement. You'll walk away with clarity, renewed energy, and a plan to build the kind of firm that truly supports the life you want. And you'll save $500 off general admission when you grab your ticket today. Head to maxlawcon.com and lock in your spot. We'll see you there.